Welcome to Ring the Down Bell. I am your host, KG. And with me, as always, is kind of like a girlfriend or a wife who just doesn't want to go away. It's my
A festering boil on your ass?
it's my co-host, the wrestling enthusiast, Mark. What's going on, man?
How much?
Oh, we are doing this from Minnesota, a state that I fucking hate right now because tonight, with the wind chilled 32 below zero, that shit sucks.
Yes, it does.
I mean, I'm going to have shrinkage tonight. My nipples are going to be hard. I mean, it's just uncomfortable. But anyway, we are doing, of course, the recap from last night's AEW's Grand Slam in Australia. That we had to wait till 10 o'clock last night to actually watch this. And we briefly discussed it, and you said that you thought it was probably a contract. Why they just couldn't go earlier on Max, and those who needed to watch on TNT, well, then they'd have to wait until after the basketball game or the shoot off or the dunk off, whatever the hell they call it. But I think that it would have just been better if they could have figured out a way for things like this, if they could indeed go do it earlier at a decent time on Max. I think it would possibly help with their viewership because the viewership, the rankings, the ratings have not come back yet, as that I seen as of last night. But I don't know, man. To me, that's just really late to have a 2-hour wrestling show come on. Um, would it have made a difference to you if you'd been able to watch it at 7 o'clock versus 10 o'clock?
Yeah, I would have liked it better at 7 o'clock, but I'm old and I'm ready for bed at 10 o'clock. So, you know, 30 years ago, I'd still be drinking beer and watching it. So, it's an age thing more than anything else, I think.
Yeah, possibly so. But anyway, enough of bitching. Enough of the bitching for me. Let's get to it. Last night I thought it was a pretty damn good show from bell to bell. Like a lie.
Yeah, it was.
You know, well, the question is though, Mark, and I have to be honest with you, how would you know since you fell asleep for about 15 minutes,
Uh,
causing, as I said, causing Quinn Harley to not win the belt. So thanks a lot, asshole.
yeah, well, to be fair, it was Monet's match, so that's kind of a snorer. To be fair.
So let's get to it.
All right, so we started with Takeshita Fletcher versus Omega and Osprey. I think Omega and Osprey actually did pretty good as a tag team. I was really surprised. Takeshita to me really held the match. I thought he was the superstar of that match. Not taking away anything away from anybody else, but I thought Takeshita was probably the main ingredients in that one, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. Takeshita, I remember when I was first introduced to him in AEW, and I won't call him an enhanced talent, but he definitely wasn't at that level that I thought he would get to so quickly. But he got there, and there's no questioning why he got there because I agree he is such a phenomenal talent. He's great, and I am glad that he's a heel right now because a guy like him that's able to generate the heat that he could get once he turns to a baby face, it's going to be a major turn. And I think it's going to be one of those things that we're going to see a huge pop for him. And that's really going to send him up into the galaxy of winners, if you will. Uh, right now, I there's just nothing much that I can imagine that Takeshita could do to get in his own way of being successful. I mean, he's just that damn good.
Yeah. So Omega seemed a bit off, maybe ring rust, a step out of time. But again, he looked pretty good for a guy that's been through what he's been through, so I'm not going to discredit him. But he did seem a bit off or a bit slow. You know, Osprey. You know, there's nothing you can say about Osprey. He's just freaking Osprey. Um,
Now, when it comes to Kenny, and I mentioned this to you last night, is it that he's off, or is it that now because of that issue that he had to deal with that almost took his life? I can see something like that really kind of waking you up, saying, "Hey, you know what? I love professional wrestling so much that although this disease that he had wasn't his fault, at the same time, him saying, I want to preserve how much longer I have left within the ring. So maybe I should slow down, maybe a step or two, just so that I can have, that longevity that I desire to be in the ring." So I question if he was off or if it's more something like that.
you're probably right. He probably had to reassess how he can wrestle and what he should and shouldn't do. It just looked like he was a step off, and maybe that's the case. I don't know. Of course. Then again, Kenny Omega's not exactly a spring chicken either.
Right,
So
right. And real quick before we go any further, I forgot to talk about this before we started the show. Michelle McCool is now going to be joining Triple H into the Hall of Fame. I'm a man, it doesn't excite me. It doesn't disappoint me. It's one of those things that it is what it is type of a thing. Uh, but the question mark is, do you think she deserves to be inducted into the Hall of Fame? Did she do enough?
I have mixed feelings about that because just in case the Undertaker watches this, I don't need to knock on my door. Um, but I don't think she had that long of a career, to be honest. I think it was only 4 or 5 years max. Max. Um, I don't think she was groundbreaking in any stretch of the imagination. I think she was in the right place at the right time, with the right gimmick. To be honest, I think Lay Cool was funny and great, but they were a clear ripoff of the Beautiful People or whatever they were with
Mm-hmm.
Ann Love and I forget who the other young lady was. Um, but I think they were a good niche at the time. Um, you know, am I going to tell her no, she's not worthy of it? No, I'm not. But would she be my choice? No, not for another 5 years.
Right. It's one of those things that, I'm not a bitter or angry or whatever the word you may be to describe those people who are talking shit about her getting inducted, because I am happy for her that she's getting inducted. But at the same time, if she wasn't being inducted, I wouldn't be upset for her either. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things that, sure, she's a good person. So, congratulations. I'm happy for you. But if your name wasn't announced this year, I wouldn't be crying about it either. Again, it just kind of, it is what it is.
But would she be inducted if she wasn't Undertaker's wife? Does that play a factor? I think it
Well,
does. I
this
think it
is my
doesn't.
best answer for you, Mark. Send an email to the Undertaker and ask him that question, and then get back to me. Let me
Yeah,
know.
yeah. I'll let you know from the ER room after I get knocked out.
Right. And real quick, also, please, guys, subscribe to the YouTube channel and keep updated. I know we're fairly small, but look, I've been lucky to have some pretty damn good legends come on that I've been able to interview with. I have been in talks with Vicky Guerrero. If everything works out correctly, she's going to be on here in a few weeks. On Tuesdays, we have the legendary Bob Cook. So many great things that have happened already for this little podcast, and I'm busting my ass, and so is Mark, to make sure that we continuously get better. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you guys can keep up to date and follow what's happening. We are the probably, look, I'd be willing to say that we're probably one of the most honest podcasters out there, just because, you have so many different podcasters out there that is just really dedicated to one promotion or the other, or who goes along with the fans think. We really don't care. We talk about how we see things. We love professional wrestling. So if you want guys who really love professional wrestling, who's not all about just bashing one promotion, but who's actually giving our honest opinion based upon our perception. And sometimes, or a lot of times, Mark and I don't agree, but that's what's great about professional wrestling. That's what we love about professional wrestling. It's not about perception, but at least we're honest about it. And we're all about giving just as much love to these promotions and these wrestlers that we are also critical about. So please, again, subscribe to us.
Yeah, we're unbiased, you know, and
100.
while we have our personal favorites and not so favorite, we won't ever discredit, because we don't care for them, you know. Um, I can't think of who I think off the top of my head that I don't care for, but like Big Bill, I'm not going to knock him because, I don't care for him, but, he's got the ability, he's got the talent, you got to have some sort of talent to get to where they are at this point. Now Big Bill might be an exception due to his height, um, but just because I don't enjoy somebody's performance doesn't mean I'll take away from their ability in the ring. Like Monet, I really don't care for Monet. I really don't. But did she have a good match last night? Yeah, she did. Did she carry Harley? I don't think so. Did Harley carry her? I don't think so. So we'll lead into that. So the next match was Harley versus Monet. Harley held her own. She actually looked pretty good. Probably the best match I've seen Harley do, actually, to be honest. And Monet, whether I like her or not, put on a good show. I'm not going to sit there and say different. You know,
Yeah, I tell you, one thing about this match is although you and I had both, we predicted that Monet was going to win, the match was good enough that there were a couple of times that I was like, holy shit, they may actually give this to Harley. Um, so yeah, I mean, whenever you're on that type of a ride where you can expect that, Monet's going to win, but yet they're doing such a good enough job that they plant that doubt that, that Monet's maybe she's not going to win. That's a good match where they could take it on a route like that. So yeah, I mean, overall, it was a good match. I'm disappointed that Monet won just because she isn't my favorite. I prefer Harley, but hey, that it is what it is, and she did win. It was a good match. Now, my question though is where are they going to go from here with Harley, and that's kind of what my big fear is. Was this her big? Uh,
Swan song.
was this the one push that Tony Khan was like, okay, I'll give you this push, but after this is going to be nothing? And yeah, I agree that she's hot, and it would be stupid to do that because how hot she is right now with the fans. But we've seen Tony Khan do this. We've seen WWE do this as well. Do you think that this was her one big push, or do you think that they're going to continuously utilize her?
I'd like to say they're going to continually utilize her because she's great in so many different aspects. She truly is. Um, she's great on interviews. Love her in interviews. My favorite one was her and Brian May, I think, about 6, 8 weeks ago. Um, but it could be her swan song, and it's one and done. Who knows? I hope not. I'd like to see another match between them two, to be honest. You know, because I think it was a good match. I'd probably give it an A minus actually.
I'll be honest, and you may not feel the same way. I am a huge Julia fan, and I'll be honest, I would love to see Julia and Harley in a program together. I personally think it would be phenomenal. And I mentioned that to say this: there are definitely other opportunities for Harley where they could push her and keep her in the limelight. So I really hope that that's what they do.
Yeah, no, you're right. Great. And Julia versus Harley would be a great match, I think. I think they're almost polar opposites, to be honest. Or at least that's where Harley's headed, to be honest.
Right.
Uh, let's see. All right, so next we go to a quick backstage with Osprey and Fletcher. Osprey's going to take on Fletcher in a steel cage match, and Omega's going to go for the international belt. I think both matches have easily potentially be 4 stars.
Yeah, but you know what? Going back real quick, to Takeshita and to I knew this was gonna happen to me.
Mega.
Yeah,
Oh,
to Tech, no, Takeshi's partner.
oh, Fletcher.
Yeah, Fletcher. God damn it, Fletcher. Um, and you mentioned something last night. I've been thinking about it. You know, you said it seems like they've cooled off of Fletcher, and I'm like, have they? And I was thinking about it, I'm like, you're right, because yeah, you know, he was in this match, and it was a hot minute that they used to build this match, but at the same time, they don't seem like they're trying to use him as a single talent as much as they first were when they had him turn on Osprey. And I get it, you know, this is a tag team match with, you know, that included Omega, which, you know, who Fletcher has had this heat with. But at the same time, it doesn't seem like they're doing very much more, or they had any interest in doing much more with the whole Fletcher versus Osprey type of a thing. Uh, do you think that we're going to continuously see a storyline between Fletcher and Osprey, or do you think this was it?
No, they're going to face each other at the next pay per view. So in 3 weeks, they're going to face each other in a steel cage match. After
That's
that,
right. That's right.
I don't know. Um, there's very few people that can carry on, 2, 3, 4 pay per view match after match after match. There's very few people. It wasn't uncommon back in the '80s, but it's pretty uncommon nowadays.
Yeah, yeah, and you're right. I don't. We just talked about that steel cage match with the backstage segment. My mind went blank for a second. But even so, it doesn't seem like I don't know when you're dealing with talents like Fletcher and Osprey. It seems like they would have been doing more to build onto the story to make it hotter, because I don't really feel like this is a storyline that is a must watch. You know, Dynamite to see what else is going to happen between these two, because there really hasn't been that much interaction. In the beginning there was, and then there really wasn't that much, and then they kind of picked it up a little bit. I don't know. I mean, is this a storyline that you are so invested in that you're, oh my gosh, I can't wait to the steel cage match?
It's not that I'm so much invested, but I know the end result is going to be there. They're going to put on a banger of a match. You know, as far as storyline to get there, no, I'm not overly excited. Um, I guess AEW kind of lacks how to tell the story. To be honest, and I hate to say that. And to be honest, with all my years of watching wrestling, I don't know if I could sit there and create a storyline. Maybe with brainstorming with other people, yeah, I could stumble onto something or elaborate onto something else. But yeah, as far as the storyline, they fall short in that aspect. It's pretty much the same thing every week. Somebody comes out, attacks somebody, and somebody gets the upper hand. So I
So
mean,
I gets a nut shot.
right. So I mean, it's a repeat, just different people.
Yeah, but I tell you what though, and I know there's been a lot of haters out there that's gonna say, you know, we don't know the fuck we're talking about, but when it comes to in-ring action, I'm sorry, AEW has been one of the best thus far. They have just amazing matches. Um, on their weekly shows. It's just a storyline aspect of it. And this is why I like AEW so much, just because I know that when I turn on Dynamite, and especially if I'm watching a pay per view, there's going to have damn good matches in
Yeah,
it.
but one of the big differences is they don't waste 7 minutes on an entrance.
Right.
So it's 6 more minutes of a match versus 7 minutes of an entrance. Their entrance time is a quarter of WWE. You know, you could take out all the entrants in WWE on SmackDown or Raw, and you clear at least 36 minutes of their segments.
Yeah, and just playing the devil's advocate here, there will be those that say, well, that's because the stars of WWE are much bigger than AW, so they deserve this grand entrance.
Yeah, I deserve to, but that ain't gonna happen either.
Yeah. Well, and this is my thing. I actually disagree with people who say this because, maybe for their PLEs, okay, I could get it. It's a PLE, it's special. Let them have their grand entrance. But when it comes to their weekly shows, I do agree that they should shorten it. There's the exceptions. I mean, I don't think that there's a way, and we're going to get back to AW after this. I don't think that there's a way that they would be able to shorten Jay Uso's entrance just because the fans want to see that, because they want to participate in that. So there are the exceptions to the rules. But for the most part, yeah, I agree that they definitely could shorten the entrances to a lot of these guys and women coming out.
Right. So, and not that I'm bashing on WWE. They are where they are for a reason, and a lot of it has to do with having that 6 minute grand entrance. You know, it's all about marketing. And during that 6 minutes, it's all marketing. Hogan wouldn't be Hogan without his grand entrance. You know,
Right, right.
so,
Well, I mean, we're not saying that what we're saying is facts. It's just our perception, our opinion.
right.
So,
All right. So next we go to Cope and White versus Mox and Claudio. Now you expected White to turn on Copeland last night, and that didn't happen. Um, and Copeland and White took the loss. I think Cope took some unnecessary risks. Especially just coming back from an injury, 2 months ago. You know,
yeah. Well,
um,
especially since he said that, on an interview right before he came back, he specifically said that he had to realize that he's older and he has no business doing those type of things.
right,
Um, but at the same, yeah, I mean, but as we talked about last night, though, it's different sitting here talking to someone that's interviewing you and him saying that versus you're in the arena with the crowd chanting. And by the way, good for Edge or Copeland, whatever. Good for him for having that moment last night of the audience singing his song back to him for a couple of minutes. That was just great to see. He absolutely deserves this because regardless if we think he takes unnecessary risk or not, he has put everything into his career. It was shortened there for a while. He was able to come back. He deserved that. Going back to what I was saying, it is different saying during an interview, yeah, I don't need to be doing those things anymore. Versus now you're out there, people are singing your song to you, they're cheering for you, you have that adrenaline rush. And I wish Bob was here right now because he was actually, he was a professional wrestler, so he could tell us. But you lose your you lose yourself within that, and you want to do things to um, basically say thank you back to your fans by doing these crazy things. So I get it. I think that they are unnecessary, but I get it.
I look at the '80s and I look at now, and I look at my dad in the '80s and I look at myself at a similar age, and than my dad was. Bucks to get in the ring and do some of that shit. You bet your ass I would. Even at 54 years old, I'd get up there, and I'd get out on the top rope and I'd do some stuff that I know, logically speaking, I shouldn't do. You know, so I understand you want to do the right thing. I
Yeah, I agree. 100%. And look, this is the bottom line too, though. It's not like Edge is doing anything that differently that he hasn't done. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah,
Hold on a second.
yeah,
All right. Wait, Mark, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, all right. So hold on. right, can you hear me?
Yeah, you better fire your tech guy.
Yeah, hold on. All right, talk now.
Yeah, you're good.
All right. No, I didn't have my normal stuff set up um for this podcast. I didn't like wear my headset, but it's I apologize, guys. It's I forgot that I have to go and unprogram or whatever you call it in order for me not to have to use it. But anyway, going back to what we are saying, it's not like that Edge isn't doing that he wasn't doing to begin with. It's just that he's older now. So I get it, and I have to believe that it's hard for him to not do those things because it's probably almost like breathing. It's secondary. It's natural. So I would be more shocked if we see a different version of Edge than if we continuously seeing this version of Edge, which we have always seen.
Well, I think 50s is in the new 40s easily. You know, these guys are performing at the same level they were 15 years ago.
Yeah.
All
Yep.
right. So next we go to Buddy Matthews versus Okinawa or Okada. Sorry,
Got
Okada.
him.
This is probably the match of the night for me. I really enjoyed it. Um, Buddy Matthews is definitely an unsung hero. I would have been more than happy to see him take the belt last night. I hope this is not the end of this feud, to be honest, because I definitely could watch this again. I did like it when Okada took the belt and was going to go home, and he, what the hell did he call him? Oh, a wanker.
Waker.
I was like, oh my god, is that like the new bitch down in Australia or what?
Right. Right. This is this is the thing. Uh, I would love. Well, I think both him and Brody both deserve them. But Brody is one of the talents that doesn't necessarily need a belt for him to be on top. And I'm not saying that Buddy Matthews needs that belt to stay on top, but I think between the two, he's the one that definitely should have a belt. Um, and even if it's a tag team belt with both of them, that's not gonna happen anytime soon because right now, the Hurt Syndicate is just they're too over right now. They'd be stupid to take the titles off of them.
Oh, but I'd like
Uh,
to see.
oh, dude, that would be a beautiful match. But I don't want it to happen right now. I want it to happen further in the future where we're at the point that we're kind of not knowing if they're ready to take the belts off of them. That way, you're more invested, I think, into the feud, into the match, if you don't know if the champs are going to retain it or not. Right now, like I said, we both know that they had a match just coming Wednesday for the title. They would lose. The Hurt Syndicate would keep it. So I want to see it further down the line.
Yep.
I agree with you that this match was great. But I was disappointed in the fact that Buddy Matthews didn't win the title. Just because I want him to have that belt so badly. I want him to carry that belt so that it can lead him to the next level of his career, which is going after the world title. I personally think he would make a great world title, a great champion. I think that he does well with the mic. He looks magnificent. He's
Yes,
a good looking guy. You mentioned last night that you just didn't think he necessarily had enough personality. I disagree with you. I think seeing Buddy Matthews with more personality would just look weird because it's Buddy Matthews and he's always been, and he's always had, even before he was with House of Black or the Hounds of Hell, um, he's at least since I've watched him, he's always had kind of that darker personality traits. So for myself, I just think that it would just look weird for him to have more personality than he does. I definitely want to see him though at the top of um AEW with being world champion. Will that happen? I don't know. But you said that this was the best match and I agree with you. But I want to talk about real quick the worst match last night. And believe it or not, I don't think it was Monet. And Harley, I think that this is going to be a shocker. A lot of people will disagree just because this Edge in this match, but I think it was that match with Edge and Moxley and their partners, White and Fletcher. I mean, not Fletcher, White and
Audio.
yeah, Claudio. I'm not saying it was a bad match. It wasn't bad by any means. But if you compare it to the rest of the matches, it just didn't hold water to the rest of the matches, in my opinion. Now, I can be honest and say maybe it's because I am not invested into the Death Riders, although I think that their feud right now with White and Edge and whoever and those involved in it, it's much better because now it seems like there's a direction they're going into. So, I stand by that, but it doesn't mean I am so invested into Moxley and Claudio and the Death Riders that I can't wait to see them. I thought this match was it was underwhelming just because of how big of a deal they made out of this happening, especially with the briefcase thing involved. They made a huge deal out of that. Yeah, it was just underwhelming for me. So that's why it was the worst match of the card. It wasn't again, fans. I'm not saying it was a bad match. I'm saying compared to the rest of the card, it was the worst match.
It didn't deliver to your expectations.
No.
And I can see that. Um, I'm just a huge Buddy Matthews fan. I think he's got shades of multiple different wrestlers inside of him that he reminds me of. I think he's got the building size of Macho Man Savage. I think he's got the tenacity of a Benoit. I think he's got the technical ability of Malenko. Um, he just needs a little bit more personality or a mouthpiece.
Yeah. Mark, I thought maybe if there was anyone, on this podcast that would get us kicked off of YouTube, that it would be Bob. But now I think it's you because you just mentioned the evil name, the
Yeah,
name that should be unspoken,
I
Chris
know.
Benoit,
I know.
right? Chris Benoit, who is probably the best technical wrestler within our generation and even upcoming generations for that matter by 1,000 miles. He'll never be giving that those flowers, but for me I'm giving those flowers. But we can't talk about it, man. Just
Oh, okay. So I should just yeah.
because don't forget, you know we have to completely take away Kurt Angle's legacy and all the other fantastic wrestlers' legacies because they fought Chris Benoit. We
Yeah.
can't talk about him, okay? Just
Yeah. All right, I'll keep that in mind for future reference. I'll just say he shall not be named.
right. Who, by the way, he who should not be named, should be inducted into the Hall of Fame. I believe that. But we'll move on from there.
Right, right. Yeah, we're gonna piss off some people there.
Yeah.
So anyways, Matthews put on a good bout. He really did. Um I rarely can criticize his matches. I think this guy really gives it his all almost every night. I've never really seen him have a bad match. I've had seen him have bad angles and bad storylines, but I've never seen him have a bad match. And this guy really should be elevated. Um
Yeah, I tell you, if you're going according to genetics, the next superstar who should take over the world of wrestling, if the superstar was ever created, would be the child, the child of Buddy Matthews and Rhea Ripley, because those genetics, Jesus Christ, can you imagine that if talent alone was based just on genetics, how like this would be a mega baby being born. Because you have two people, both Rhea Ripley and Buddy Matthews, that both give everything when they're in the ring, and who is just absolutely phenomenal stars.
Uh, so I can understand why these two are together because you're 100% right about Buddy Matthews. He absolutely, I've never seen him have a bad match. Maybe he
Right.
has. I have just never seen it. You know, he is just that good.
If he has, I've erased it from my memory banks. I
Yeah.
just, I can't sing enough praises for this kid. I really can't. And it's not like he's an overnight sensation. This guy's been at it for a while. He's paid his dues, you know. But again,
Yep.
imagine leave your country coming to America to meet another Australian to marry.
Yeah.
All right, so next we go to Mariah May versus Tony Timeless Storm. You know what? This is actually better than I anticipated. And I like Tony Storm, and I really dig the Timeless Tony Storm um, gig because it's probably the freshest character building I've seen in a decade. It was the best rebranding of anybody I've seen in forever. And I know you're not a huge fan of it, and I understand where it's corny and hokey and whatnot, but as far as rebranding somebody, that was probably the best I've ever seen.
Well, it's not that I don't like it because I do like it. It's that it took me a long time to get behind it. Just because, look, I was introduced to Tony Storm during the Mae Young Classic, right? And I was like, wow, this woman can go. She is phenomenal. So I was a big fan of Tony Storm from then on. So when she came to AEW, and then they changed Tony Storm into the timeless Tony Storm, it was taken away for myself that the it was changing a wrestler, Tony Storm, who I loved, changed her up. And, you know, not many of us, most people don't like change, including me. So I just couldn't imagine going from the Tony Storm that I loved to this Tony Storm. But over time, my hate for this new gimmick started to change because of Tony Storm, because of just how good she is. I can't imagine any other female talent um, making this into a success, much like the Undertaker. I could never imagine another wrestler besides Mark Calloway taking a gimmick like this and making it into this generational um amazing gimmick to the point that he had it for 30 plus years, was able to retire with it. And to this day, if you hear that music, people would they lose their shit, including fans who have never been able to see the Undertaker live wrestle, right? That's how good it is. I'm not saying by any means that timeless, the timeless thing is going to be that. What I'm saying is that like Mark Calloway, I can't imagine another superstar being able to turn something that I thought was stupid into something that's actually good. So yes, I am a fan of it now, but only because of Tony Storm.
It's funny you bring up the Undertaker because it brings a couple things to mind. One, I think it was Ole Anderson that told Mark Calloway, nobody's ever going to pay to see you. All right. And two, like it or not, it shows what a genius Vince McMahon is. Because that easily could have gone south with the WWE. That easily could have gone south, and Mark Calloway could have been a jobber as the Undertaker. You know, but through Vince's vision and Mark Calloway's willingness to listen to Vince, regardless if you like it or not, believe it or not, Mark had enough faith in Vince to say, "Okay, I'll listen." All right, and Mark will tell you himself he was worried shitless about what kind of gimmick they were going to give him. He thought he was going to be the gobbledygook and some shit. You know. So Mark Calloway was definitely worried. And Mark Calloway, even when he signed with WWF at the time, he wasn't in the best of health, as far as his hips, his legs, and his knees and whatnot. So the fact that they created this character and did so much with it in 30 plus years, you know, coming from where Mark started and where he finished, Mark's a legend. icon, whatever you want to call him. He is that it, you know. I'd put him on Mount Rushmore, to be honest. I really would.
Yeah, you talk about this, man. So look, regardless if people like it or not, Vince McMahon is a professional wrestling genius. Um, yeah, he gets credit for some things that I think other people should as well get credit for. Don't get me wrong, but make no mistake about it, that without Vince McMahon, we would not be where we're at with professional wrestling. Look, he when we went from the Attitude Era to the PG era, it was terrible, right? Because you know we seen what we loved professional wrestling within the Attitude Era. What made the PG era watchable and somewhat even entertaining once we got more into it, and the PG era and the ruthless aggression era kind of goes into one another, was because of Vince McMahon's genius. Now, if you got, well, what do you mean? How? Please explain to me how Vince McMahon's genius got us through this. Simple. He picked the right guy to carry this era on his shoulders. And it's a guy that we are now watching his last year within professional wrestling, his last run, John Cena. Period. You can call John Cena hokey, you can call him corny, you can call him what you want. You could love him, you could hate him, you could cheer him, or you could boo him. The fact of the matter, though, is regardless if you're cheering them or you're booing them, that's emotion. That means John Cena was able to bring out that emotion in you, which meant you were spending money to see the product, and as well as you were spending money on the merch of John Cena. That's how Vince McMahon was a genius. He knew the right people to pick, to put in the right spot, to make WWE continuously be successful. Yes, there were times that I think he was out of touch, which means that viewership was a little bit down. But guess what? WWE's still here. So he might have been out of touch, but he was doing just enough to keep us watching the product. So all the shit he did in his personal life, I may not agree with it. Um, but that's separate from the genius that he was in his business life when it came to professional wrestling. It's why I will always be a Vince McMahon guy, because I am a wrestling fan. And Vince McMahon is one of the reasons why we have so much wrestling to watch today.
Yep, absolutely. Now, no, that's not saying Vince didn't have some broken eggs along the way. He did. He had a lot of broken eggs along, and he had a lot of missed opportunities too.
But
To
Mark,
be
you know what? Real quick, success doesn't improve you. It's your failures and learning from your failures. And when you can learn from your failures to be successful, that's part of the genius.
yep, yep. You're absolutely right, and you won't succeed unless you fail. So yeah, you're absolutely right. But again, I don't want to. Vince McMahon is no messiah, but when it comes to
No,
wrestling, he is definitely on the pedestal of what we wouldn't have what we have today without him. And to be quite honest, if Vince failed at WrestleMania 1 and they folded, will we still have territories? Yeah. Will we get some of the super shows we got nowadays? I don't think so. I don't think so.
no. And unfortunately, um, Vince McMahon will probably never be part, I won't say never, but not anytime soon, or not even while he's alive, to be honest with you, in my opinion. He will never be part of what he created, which is the WWE Hall of Fame. And it's sad. And it goes right along on par with the Chris Benoit thing. And I don't care who it pisses off. The fact of the matter is that you have to separate the man from the art. We're not celebrating what Vince supposedly have done. I say supposedly because, yeah, he settled the civil aspect of it. Criminal charges was dropped against him. He was never found guilty when it came to the legal aspect of being guilty. So supposedly what he did, he's going to be crucified for that and that'd be part of the Hall of Fame. Chris Benoit, we know what he did. It's disgusting. It's horrible. Regardless of the reason, a woman and a child lost their life, and I will never be okay with that. But we're not celebrating that. We're celebrating the art and what he did with inside professional wrestling. Chris Benoit is responsible for people like Kurt Angle having his legacy. I'm not saying that he created Kurt Angle, but it took two people to have a master class of a match. Right. So to erase Chris Benoit is to erase Kurt Angle and a lot of other wrestlers as well. I won't do that. That's why he deserves his flowers for what he did in between the square circle. If you don't like it, I don't care. Don't watch the podcast. That's where I stand with that.
There was 4 guys you could watch and always expect a clinic of a match. Kurt Angle, Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko. Any 4 of them guys together, it was a clinic of a match. Whether people could appreciate it or not, I tell you what, anytime I saw any of them 4 names going against each other, I was fully vested in that match. Fully vested.
Yeah, 100%. And again, I think that it is an injustice in professional wrestling to try to cancel those guys. Chris Benoit and Vince McMahon try to cancel them out of professional wrestling because, again, they had such a huge impact on the sports that they should be recognized for what they gave to these sports. And look, with Vince McMahon now being the charges being dropped or the investigation being done, they're not pursuing anything. And I think about saying this to you last night. I'll honestly be shocked if we didn't see Vince's hands in something when it came to professional wrestling. Something. Don't know what, but Vince McMahon, from everything that I've read, all the interviews from people who know him, he's not a guy that's just going to sit at home in his recliner waiting to die. He's going to have his hands in something. And I know he's kind of already created something, some type of something to do with the movies. I'm not sure exactly what it is. But I don't, yeah, thank you. I don't think that's going to be good enough, though. I think that professional wrestling, or in his case, the sports entertainment aspect of it, I think that he is, and yes, there's a difference between professional wrestling and sports entertainment. That's why I hate when people try to compare AEW and WWE, 2 totally different things. AEW is professional wrestling, WWE is sports entertainment. But I'll be shocked if Vince does not get his hands involved in something related to sports entertainment.
You want to see a crowd lose their shit and AEW's ratings go through the roof? Have Vince McMahon walk out on AEW, and I tell you, that'd fucking shut the internet down. I bet you it would. Because people would lose their shit. That'd be bigger than walking out on WWE.
Yeah, it's for as much as these so-called fans hate Vince McMahon, I guarantee you that they'd be tuning in to AEW if Vince McMahon showed up, even as an on-screen character, as a Mr. McMahon type, right? And I guarantee you that AEW would very quickly gain up with WWE. I'm not saying they would surpass WWE. WWE is a mega thing, but they would fill in that gap for how far behind they were with WWE. 100%.
But knowing Vince McMahon, he probably couldn't use the Vince McMahon name because it's trademark. So he'd have to scam or some shit. Yeah. I could see it. Now introducing VKM. I know Vince probably trademarked his own goddamn name, knowing Vince.
Yeah. I mean, look, and obviously that's something fantasy. That'll never happen. Well, actually, again, it's professional wrestling. I will never say never. I don't foresee that happening.
Oh, but it'd be glorious.
Oh, it would be. That would be bigger than the Hulk Hogan turn back in the day.
That'd be the biggest thing in the last 3 decades, easily.
I would go to say that that would probably be the biggest thing to ever happen in professional wrestling.
Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right. Um,
I really
one
do.
kid, I tell you what, I'd lose my shit if I saw that.
Yeah, yeah, it would be awesome. But anyway, that is the recap of AEW. Mark, what
Oh,
do you go ahead?
got sidetracked. Who won the Mariah May match?
Oh yeah, Toni Storm. By the way, gotta say it. I know that our last podcast I predicted that uh Mariah May would keep it. But before the match even started last night, I said I'm changing my pick. And the reason why I changed my pick was there was not a title change amongst all of these stars that were from Australia. And because of that, I'm like, they have to give Australia just one. Tony Storm's from Australia. So I'm like, she's going to win it. And she did. But
Yeah,
she won.
it was a good match too. It was a good match.
It was. Now, with all of our picks, I got every single pick right. You got one wrong because you didn't change it. You had the opportunity to, which means I'm the bigger Tony Storm fan.
I'll give you
I
that.
believe.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that. But no, I pick my guns on when I pick who wins. The fact that you backed out and changed, I can respect that, but just shows me that you're a turncoat, and I'm waiting for you to turn on me. I'm waiting for that kick to go through the plate glass window.
Well, as soon as I can, get, look, I have me a legend from the past as a co-host on Tuesdays. Now I'm looking for someone that is going into legendary status in the future, who is currently big now as another co-host. As soon as I have that happen, yeah, I'm gonna, I'm just telling you, I'm gonna kick you in the nuts and say bye-bye, Bart.
Are you worried about a kick to the plate glass window? But I don't think you can kick that high anymore. So if I
So,
get stretch when I'm over at your house, I'll worry about it.
I can poison your food you at my house though.
Yeah, you could. It doesn't have the same effect of falling over as going through a plate glass window.
All right, dude. You talk about that, and that match with Kurt Angle and Shane McMahon when he was supposed to go through that the like last they went through, and Kurt Angle, according to Kurt Angle, he threw him through the wrong one, so they had to keep it going, and he finally found the right one. But look, anybody, there's people who talk shit about Shane McMahon, and he's a terrible wrestler. He's this, he's that. Let me tell you something. If you can't have respect for a man that has put his body through what he's put his body through because of his love of professional wrestling, and to me, say what you want, it's only because of love. Because you're talking about a man who did not have to do that. He's fucking Vince's son, for the love of God. So he wasn't doing it for the money. He didn't need to do it for the star factor because he was already an on-star character to begin with. He didn't have to do this. He did it. And I have a lot of respect for Shane McMahon because of, those things that he willingly put his body through because of the love of the sport.
I think back of that, but more importantly, I think back of when Shane first came back and Vince says, "You want to get my good graces? All right, well, I'm going to pick somebody for you to face." And he picked the Undertaker. He says, "You beat the Undertaker, you're back in." All right. And Shane really got the shit kicked out of him, I think, in that match. And even though he lost, Vince still took him back, because of the performance that he put in. And, I don't think Shane really trained as a wrestler, to be honest. I think he had natural ability, and I think he did the best with what he had. But by no stretch of imagination is he going to be on Mount Rushmore.
No.
But I give Shane all the props in the world for I think of the training he did versus the ability he had. I give Shane all the props in the world. I'd never take away anything from Shane.
Yeah, no, no. And I hear people still to this day talk shit about him, but like, you know what? I will accept you talking shit about Shane and respect it if you do one thing for me. Go wrestle a match.
That pillar to post, buddy. Pillar to post.
Go wrestle every style of match that Shane McMahon has done, doing all the spots. And then I say, now I think you deserve to be able to talk shit about Shane. This is why when I'm critical about wrestlers, I don't talk shit about them. I say that there is just a disconnect where I can't relate to them because I can't talk shit about them because on their worst day, their worst match is still 1,000,000% better than what I will ever do in the square circle as a professional wrestler. That's why these fans, these so-called fans, they're not real fans. But anyway, guys, again, this is that was the recap of AEW's Grand Slam. I'm looking forward to Wednesday night, as I always am, just because I love AEW, just like I love WWE, TNA. Really excited that I found out that I actually have an ROH channel that I didn't know I have, so I have a lot of catching up to do with that. That excites me. We will be back on Tuesday with the superficial Cooker, Mr. Bob Cook, legendary professional wrestler himself, to do a recap of Monday Night Raw. Unfortunately, Marcus will be here with us. But Mark, do you have anything? Yeah.
All right, buddy. No, I ain't got nothing. Just trying to stay warm the next couple days because it's gonna be butt ass cold.
Absolutely, guys. And don't forget to ring the damn bell. You guys enjoy your upcoming week. Have a great week. Bye-bye.